We are back, ladies and gentlemen. It is another episode of Pickup Lines. Happy to have you along here. It is the talk show in a car. And as I always say, if the car moves, something's wrong. Well, we're not going anywhere. We're going to stay right here with Bobby Perez, the Spurs chief legal officer and general counsel. You've probably seen him in the news lately, and it's all good, and we'll talk about that in a little bit, but it is great to have you here on Pickup Lines, sir.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Looking forward to
this conversation. Yeah. I've wanted to have this conversation for a while, and I know you are an extremely busy guy, especially right now, and we'll talk about Project Marvel, and we'll get to all that in a little bit. I always like to start early on. I know you went to Jefferson High School.
Yes.
You're one of, like, the dozens and dozens of, like, big-time stars in various industries that have come out of I don't know what is happening at Jefferson. That school has produced some pretty good people over the years.
There's some hardly big time, but there's some really good people that came out. I got to do some really fun work at the city with Ed Garza, Julian Castro, lots of really good people that are committed to their community.
And you've served in elected office before, again, which we'll get to in a little bit. But again, going backwards, I'm always curious as to where exactly you grew up, kind of the dynamic at your home and your childhood. What are your earliest memories of just growing up and what you were like?
Family. You know, I come from one of those families. My mother is 93 today. I've got
still around.
God
bless her.
Yes, I've got three tias that are still with us. 95. My mom 93. 89, and the baby's 82 or 83. So it's a lot of fun, and I was just with them last weekend. All together, and it's a blast. And so all my cousins.
The Perez genes are strong then.
We are blessed. We've been around a bit.
Good for you. Your father?
My father, it'll be 10 years that he's passed, and so he's not with us any longer, but he's here in spirit.
God bless him. In terms of childhood, I mean, what are your earliest memories of just kind of, what did you want to be when you grow up, or what are your interests back then? And because you obviously turned out pretty well. But what were you thinking when you were a little boy?
I think when I was a little boy, it was nothing. I'm not sure I had a job goal, but it seems like every Sunday the whole family were watching the Dallas Cowboys, and that's what our family revolved around, and it was just kids running around in the community, riding our bikes, and we all lived very near each other. We still do today.
You wanted to play for the Dallas Cowboys?
You know what? I'm certain I did. I'm certain I wanted to be Roger Staubach.
Sure.
I'm dating myself, but that was the guy.
He's still the coolest. I mean, to this day. Yeah. That's fantastic. Did you play sports?
I played sports at from. I'm trying to remember the name of the all the facilities, but when you're a little kid today it's probably called Joe Ward Community Center. Mm-hmm. We all spent time there. And everything from baseball, soccer, football, all the way through and in and out. And so it was a lot of fun.
Yeah. But obviously you went into a life, you're an attorney, you went into a life of public service and those kinds of things, leadership. Did you run for student council, or what are when did that happen where you knew you had an interest in those kinds of things? I mean, becoming an attorney obviously takes a long time to do too.
I think that was back to the family. When we go back to the family, I had an uncle that sat on the city council in the 70s. One of my tias was a SAISD school board member, maybe in the 80s or the 90s, and there was just some point in time where I thought maybe I'll give it a shot, and I ran for city council in the 90s.
I read about, was it your uncle, is it Teniente?
Yeah, Teniente, Richard Teniente.
You what was it, you would hand out flyers.
That's right.
And I hate to date you, but you mentioned like in the mid-70s. I am just trying to envision you out on a street corner, the sidewalk, handing out flyers?
I was probably 6 years old, and we were all, as kids, we would work on my uncle's campaign. If we were not handing out little place cards, we were standing in front of polls and putting up signs, and so that was just kind of the family sport was politics.
Now, were you old enough to kind of realize what was happening and that maybe that could be you one day?
You know what? I had probably little clue.
Right.
But it probably...
You just did what you were told.
I did what I was told. But as I got older, and I do remember when I was young and in college, watching San Antonio politics, the Henry Cisneros era, those type of things. It was fun to watch, and I knew that I would always come back to San Antonio.
I was not here in time for all that, but I must imagine like Henry B. Gonzalez and Henry Cisneros, some of the titans of just that still, I mean, there are buildings named after these people and everything, that what it must have been like to watch them and be inspired by them.
It was inspirational.
Especially as a young Hispanic boy.
As a young Latino, right? Just watching that happen, knowing that there was always opportunity, and going back to what I think our family instilled in all of us was getting educated and going back and doing your part in the community, and whether that community service was elected to politics or otherwise.
Would you say you were a middle-class family? Were there struggles there?
We were like all the kids in the neighborhood at the time. When you kind of grow up on the west side, the shallow west side, you always had food to eat, you always had a place to live, and you didn't know what you didn't have. And
it was all relative.
It was all relative, right?
Yeah.
And so we were lucky, and my mom always had a job. If my dad didn't, he would eventually find one, and it was just always a good spot.
But neither one of them were into politics or public service?
Neither one of them. No, just from the service side. I think when my dad finally retired, he from a great program called San Antonio Neighborhood Youth Organization.
Right.
And way back when, that was the group that would place people in jobs, teach them how to go out and interview, and so that was kind of just part of that service piece.
So you ran through Jefferson, had a good time there?
Great time.
Yeah?
Yes.
And then it was on to Austin.
Yes, went to the University of Texas and went to college there for 4 years and then to law school.
By that time, you knew the law, you were going to pursue law?
It took me a bit. I really wasn't sure what the goal was, but I think probably when I was a senior in high school at Jefferson, I got exposed to a lawyer named Melvin Eichelbaum out in Leon Valley.
Oh.
And it was through a program at Jefferson High School. And I never forgot that experience. And Melvin's passed, but his family still is in the legal field.
Yeah.
But he exposed me to what it was to be like a lawyer at the Bexar County Courthouse. That was pretty cool.
I've had a handful of people sit in this very seat that went through St. Mary's Law, and I've just found out how great a place that must have been.
Yeah.
And it's produced some great attorneys over the years.
It's a wonderful place. I enjoyed it. Hard work. It really kind of taught me how to learn and study, but what a wonderful place.
Yeah. And you look back very fondly on those days and everything.
I do. I do. I enjoyed it, and my wife graduated from St. Mary's Law School, one of the smartest lawyers I know, and so it was a great time for me.
Wait a minute. Now, I'm just trying to envision, on the rare occasion, I'm sure, when the two of you disagree on something, who wins that argument?
Julie wins all
Good
the time.
answer. It's a great answer. If you had said otherwise, I would have had to stop the recording.
She's the winner.
That's pretty remarkable.
Yeah.
All right. Seems like a good place to take a pause here. We'll step aside for a few moments talking with Bobby Perez here, the second best lawyer in his own household. More to come here on Pickup Lines. Don't go away. All right, back here with Bobby Perez, who's the Spurs chief legal officer and general counsel. So on paper, you're technically employed by, is it the NBA or the actual franchise, the Spurs?
Yes, San Antonio Spurs.
Okay, right. But a few things happened before all of that. We were talking about how you came out of St. Mary's Law School, and did you always know that you wanted to stay here in San Antonio?
Yes, I think so. I right after law school, I think I became a prosecutor. My first job was in Comal County. But came back to Bexar County shortly thereafter.
And you were doing your thing, and I'd imagine you could have, practiced law full time the rest of your career, but then, something else came calling.
Yeah, it was the Spurs were a client for quite some time, maybe 8 years, 9 years, and the NBA has changed rapidly, even over just the last 10 years.
Sure.
And the businesses got bigger, the operations got bigger, and so I was invited in to, be a lawyer for the Spurs.
Yeah, and I want to, before we kind of touch more on that, I mean, you did serve in city council.
I did.
Which probably helps you now in your current role right now with the Spurs, but I mean, you were there for, was it a term?
Back in my time, a term was 2 years.
2 years.
And you can serve 4 years total, and so I did all 4 years.
Because now it's 8 years, but it's 4-year terms now.
Correct.
And you didn't want to pursue further elected office after that?
I thought about it, but I think at the time my children were young, and I had to pay attention to that and be a good dad and do everything I could to support them. So that was my main focus.
You've got 3 kids.
I've got 3
right?
children.
I've gotten to know enough city council members here in town who have, especially young kids.
Yeah.
And I do not envy them whatsoever because it's a thankless job sometimes. You're certainly not getting rich off of it. And you're trying that work-life balance can be tough.
It was crazy times. In my day, you got paid $20 a week, and
you heard right, by the way. That was not a misspeak. You got a stipend essentially
Exactly.
for going to the meeting.
If you had to show up to get your $20, and it was probably 40 hours a week in work. Probably
this wasn't
more.
like in the early 1900s either. This was like turn of the century, early 2000s. And the salaries, I know there were raises, and it's significantly higher than $20 a meeting. But
it's higher now, thank goodness.
That's almost laughable.
Yeah,
like, who would run for city council in the early 2000s?
I ask myself that question often.
but it worked out.
It
worked out. So you were at peace with not seeking further being mayor or a senator or a congressman or anything like that.
Absolutely, yes, absolutely at peace, and it was for me the right decision.
Right, very good. So the Spurs come into your radar and everything, and obviously they're starting to win championships and everything like that. We all know, when they left the Alamo Dome, were you involved in the transition from the Alamo Dome to then? I guess it was the SBC Center when they moved in, right? Were you involved in any of that?
No, I had just my very first meeting. That was about that transition piece, and so my first meeting at City Hall.
Yeah.
And so not really, but I did get to ride in the championship parade, and that was a lot of fun. And it was just
was that 99?
1999.
Yeah. Oh
yeah.
My gosh.
Yeah. It was a pretty neat time in San Antonio. Very first one
on the Riverwalk, of course.
Yes.
Which come on now, that's the only way to do it in San Antonio.
Yeah.
And then they would do it 4 more times. Which is pretty crazy.
Amazing.
But then, okay, so the SBC Center becomes the AT&T Center, which obviously becomes the Frost Bank Center. And I don't expect you to, I know you can't get into all the delicate details of everything, but as you see now, we're decades removed from that, and with the talks of Project Marvel and everything, do you have any sense of what the fate of the Frost Bank Center will be at that side of town, the Freeman Coliseum, and what might have been and what ultimately will be?
I think personally and professionally, and we're really excited about what the county called an election this week. The city council gave direction to the city staff to go move forward. But part of the overall project, in addition to the sports entertainment district downtown, is the redevelopment of the Frost Bank Center, making the rodeo the prime tenant.
Right.
And the rodeo are one of the best operators in the United States, and they're going to do a great job. They needed to get bigger, as we needed to get bigger.
Because, then that's why we have the rodeo road trip every year, is because the Spurs have to leave in order for them, because it's such a big rodeo. They've won countless awards and everything.
They win so many awards every year, and they're fantastic.
Right.
And that's right, where you have to be out for about 30 days.
All right. Essentially, for people who don't understand, you essentially are the face, as it is, with the franchise, and you work with, is it Eric Walsh, the county leadership, the city leadership, as the negotiations and the back and forth happen.
That's right. Yeah, that's an ongoing process, and we're in there frequently to hopefully figure out all the details, so we can make sure there's a fair deal for the community, and the community can see that it's going to be funded by visitors, and we'll be able to take the next step for the next 30 years.
So the leadership, like Peter Holt and R.C. Buford and Greg Popovich, for that matter, you will report back to them and kind of be the intermediary, if you will.
That's right. And Peter J. Holt and R.C. Buford are extremely involved in the day-to-day, so a lot of times they're in there with us as well.
Yeah. How did your time in city council help you? Like I alluded to it earlier, but how did that time on the other side of the dais help you in what you're doing right now, and as you try to navigate through this?
I think the appreciation for the public process, the community input, and understanding of that whole microcosm of what happens on the city side has been very helpful. Not many people go through it, but it helps you really understand how you take steps to go advance a transaction.
The Spurs are so personal to this community, as you know, and anytime there's talk about playing a game out of town in Mexico, whatever, I'm not telling you anything you don't already know, but you hear, they're going to move the team or this and that, and maybe you can put some of that to rest right here, or just reassure people that the Spurs are not going anywhere anytime soon.
I think Peter has come out publicly and said our focus is San Antonio, and looking to see how we can kind of help continue to build the future with our brand and the city of San Antonio that are extremely intertwined, and we're looking forward to that.
So to be clear, are the Spurs, you can't possibly take any other legal work on, right? I mean, the Spurs are your one and only full-time client?
Only full-time. That's right.
Okay, I
Every
figured
day.
as much.
Every day, all day.
And I must feel like that sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes it does. It does.
Like I'm probably keeping him from doing work on that right now.
I will tell you, I get to work with, we've got 500 full-time employees, amazing people. And not only the people that we're working on this project, but everything that we have going on. So I'm very fortunate and blessed to get to call that work.
Yeah, it's not a bad gig.
No, not at all.
But there is a little bit of pressure on him right now. We'll talk more about that with Bobby Perez coming up here in just a little bit on Pickup Lines. Don't go away. I had a few more minutes here with Bobby Perez, the Spurs chief legal officer and general counsel. And again, I mean, we could probably do a whole episode or 2 or 3 on Project Marvel. I'm sure you have personal thoughts on it, personal allegiances. You grew up in San Antonio.
Yeah.
You're a Spurs fan. You talked about riding in the championship parade. How do you compartmentalize that with what's in the best interest for the city when you talk about something that would potentially play out for many, many years, if not decades?
I think the best part about the task I get to be involved in right now is we're doing it from our lens at San Antonio Spurs, being values aligned and values focused. And so community is a massive part of that. And so being from San Antonio, being a fan of the Spurs, it's fantastic, right? Because you're with a group of people that are working to try to make the best thing happen, going forward for the community. So that part's great.
Yeah. I mean, obviously there's a relatively new mayor, Mayor Jones, and money seems to be the biggest elephant in the room, if you will.
Of course.
And I'm sure you've had to have some uncomfortable discussions about all that because there's so many, the city council and the county commissioners and the Spurs leadership. And then the fans obviously have a voice in all of this.
Of course.
Does it ever get overwhelming or just to take all this in and it's an impossible position to be in, right? Sometimes
it can be challenging. But I think having really great partners at the county, great partners at the city, great community partners, that we can all gather around sport and use it as a way to have good, healthy discussions. And so that, yes, it is hard, but it makes it fun too.
I mean, the Spurs had kind of fallen on hard times in recent years and things seem to be trending up. But there are some very young people who are not old enough to remember a time when the Spurs were winning. They were a dynasty.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. I think, we've been really blessed in many ways, but Brian Wright's our GM.
Right.
R.C. Buford, of course, a future Hall of Famer in his own right.
Right.
And our team building continues. Victor is now, leading the group, and we've had back-to-back Rookie of the Year, so it's an exciting time.
Counsel,
for the Spurs.
Dylan Harper. If everybody stays healthy, I like the chances. As much as you can pull the curtain back on the franchise, Coach Pop went through a lot of health issues and everything. One, how is he doing? And if you could look into your crystal ball, I mean, you have a unique insight on the team. How are things looking for the 25-26 season?
Well, I'm super excited about the 25-26 season. I think the schedule will come out in very soon.
Yeah.
We'll get to see what that home opener looks like. I think there's already been a little showcasing of that. So we're going to have a lot of fun this year. And we've got a great group. Pop's great. He is still our conscience, but our Mitch, our new coach, and Brian are going to get us to some fun places. So it's really exciting.
Yeah, and so you get to all of this while you're still obviously managing Project Marvel. And I don't know if I'm just being blunt here or not, but is there a scenario? Is there any case where this is not going to happen? I mean, I feel personally, I get the sense Project Marvel, it's inevitable. It's going to happen at some point, but I don't see a scenario where it couldn't, correct?
We hope that it will be under construction on a sports and entertainment district in downtown San Antonio in the next coming handful of months, the next 20 months or so. We do need an election to pass, and so we'll be communicating out more on that in the very near future as we go through this.
So for timing, would that be this November then?
That's right. November of 25 will be an election on the visitor tax in Bexar County.
So the people ultimately will have a huge say in this.
Absolutely.
One way or the other.
Yeah, one way or the other. Absolutely. And we're hopeful that they'll support the project once they learn all the details.
I know Oklahoma City has been used as an example. They've just won a title, obviously. And I'm sure you've done research in other markets and other cities where something similar has happened, and you can look at the impact it's had there. I mean, is there a city or two that jumps out in mind that maybe we're not thinking about?
I think Indianapolis is another one that comes out. They've done a lot of reinvestment in their downtown. Oklahoma City, of course. We talked about Phoenix earlier. There's been some changes out there, but I think San Antonio can be one of the best in the United States. And the project that we've been talking about with the city and the community will be amazing for downtown San Antonio.
Again, without getting you in any trouble, is there something about Project Marvel that we just need to know about, or something that's not being reported, or maybe just something that the fan base needs to know in terms, because I mean they're going to literally vote on this in November.
That's right.
But just something that's out there that maybe we haven't talked enough about.
I think 2 points. One is that the funding of the new arena will be based on the visitors. So our local residents will not be paying for the new arena. The visitors coming into San Antonio will bear that burden.
Okay.
And that's the number one thing. The number two thing is that the future operations and any cost overruns on that arena, the Spurs will take charge of. And making sure that it's fair for the citizens of San Antonio and Bexar County, I think those are the two highlights for us.
Have you had a chance to visit with the mayor in a kind of a more intimate setting, one-on-one, and just maybe answer some of the questions that she has or some of the concerns that she's raised?
Yes, we've been able to sit down, and she's given us time. We're grateful for that, and we'll look forward to continue having those discussions as we go through the process.
Okay, all right. I'll let you off the hook here and talk about, because this is a lot. I mean, this is a lot. This is heavy work. I mean, this is a lot. That, again, that's played out over multiple years and will continue to. What do you do for fun? How do you decompress? You've got kiddos at home, obviously, and a wife. How do you,
I'll date myself again. Actually, all my kids are gone. My oldest son is out of the house. He's a lawyer for the Indiana Pacers.
No way. Okay.
That's right. My daughter's in Austin, and my youngest son's in New York City. And we have one grandchild, and my daughter will have another one not too far away from now. So we're excited about that.
So, again, forgive me. I hope I'm not putting you on the spot. Are you celebrating a milestone birthday this year?
You know what? I just turned 60 in January. Yeah. So I'll be 61 right around the corner.
I only ask because then there's hope for people like me. I'm a little behind you, but if I can, turn out like you, then I think I'm going to be okay.
As I talk about my age, I'm getting a little uncomfortable, but yeah.
No, well, listen. Hey, nobody's getting any younger, by the way. We're all getting older. But listen, you're not doing so bad for pushing 61.
There you go.
You're doing all right. So what do you do? You've got a grandchild, obviously, so that takes up some of your time.
Yes.
Let me ask you that. As I've heard stories, I'm not a grandfather, but having children is one thing. When you have granddaughter or grandson? Granddaughter.
Yeah.
I mean, tell me what that's like.
It's wonderful. It's the most amazing experience. You get to have fun, and she's beautiful, and I have a blast with her.
But you said, where is she?
Unfortunately, she's in Indianapolis.
Okay.
But I see her as much as I can.
I didn't know you had a Pacers, an in-home divided house.
That's right. Yes.
That's pretty interesting.
It's fun. Yeah. The son enjoys sports, and that's his path.
So he's essentially you, but for the Indiana Pacers?
They've got a great legal team over there, and he's part of that team.
Yeah.
And he's been over there the last couple of years, and spent some time with an NHL club before that.
Very cool. What's the coolest thing about being Bobby Perez?
I'm not certain I can answer that one, man.
Well, then, let me ask you this. The coolest thing about working for the Spurs in your capacity, because there can only be one of you.
It's absolutely getting to work. I wish I could showcase all the leaders and team members that do everything from run basketball camps to run our buildings to the community. Those people are amazing. That is the best thing about my job.
Yeah.
And I get to engage with them every day.
Good for you. I know you haven't forgotten about your roots. I know, was it late last year, SAISD honored you with a really nice award, and you've gone back and talked to kids, and I would imagine in the craziness of your life, kids, grandkids, et cetera, that you make time to do that, and you have not forgotten your roots.
You know what? It is the most important thing. I think one thing that was instilled by my father, my mother, is making sure that we're always focused on each other and where we came from.
Yeah.
And so we continue to do that.
Good for you. Last thing I will ask you, I always like to ask my guests here because I'm fascinated by just, life happens and you overcome challenges and obstacles and stuff. Is there a moment in life, a challenge, an obstacle, something professionally, personal that you've had to overcome that just that has made you a better person that you can think of?
You know what? I think it's a great question. if I actually reflect, I think making the transaction from the private practice of
Mhm.
law, I had some great partners. We had a great business. Going in-house and working for the Spurs, that is probably one of the best professional things I think I could have done. And I'm grateful that, the opportunity came, and I'm grateful I was wise enough to be able to jump at it.
And you seem really happy.
I'm having fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's a pleasure to be with you here.
Thank you very much,
Again,
man.
like I said, I've probably taken 30 minutes of his
Yeah.
time off of Project Marvel, but it was worth it. It's a conversation I've been wanting to have for a long time. Bobby Perez, the Spurs chief legal officer and general counsel, grandfather, and again, the second best attorney in his household next to his wife. Thank you, sir. It's
Thank
good
you
to
very
see
much. Great to see you.
All right, there's another episode of Pickup Lines. We'll do it again very soon. Thanks as always for watching. Until then, I am Ernie Zuniga. Have a great day.